Section 5 of Write It Right. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mark Penfold. Write It Right by Ambrose Bierce. Section 5. Pair for pairs. If a word has a good plural, use each form in its place. Pants for trousers. Abbreviated from pantaloons, which are no longer worn. Vulgar exceedingly. Partially for partly. A dictionary word to swell the book. Party for person. A party named Brown. The word, used in that sense, has the excuse that it is a word. Otherwise it is no better than pants and gent. A person making an agreement, however, is a party to that agreement. Patron for customer. Pay for give, make, etc. He pays attention. She paid a visit to Niagara. It is conceivable that one may owe attention or a visit to another person, but one cannot be indebted to a place. Pay. Laziness does not pay. It does not pay to be uncivil. This use of the word is grossly commercial. Say, indolence is unprofitable. There is no advantage in incivility. Peek for peep. Seldom heard in England, though common here. I peeked out through the curtain and saw him. That it is a variant of peep is seen in the child's word peekaboo, equivalent to bo peep. Better use the senior word. Peculiar for odd or unusual. Also sometimes used to denote distinction or particularity. Properly, a thing is peculiar only to another thing of which it is characteristic, nothing else having it, as knowledge of the use of fire is peculiar to man. People for persons. 3 people were killed. Many people are superstitious. People has retained its parity of meaning with the Latin populus, whence it comes, and the word is not properly used except to designate a population, or large fractions of it considered in the mass. To speak of any stated or small number of persons as people is incorrect. Per. $5 per day. 3 per 100. Say, $3 a day. 3 in 100. If you must use the Latin preposition, use the Latin noun too. Per diem, per centum. Perpetually for continually. The child is perpetually asking questions. What is done perpetually is done continually and forever. Phenomenal for extraordinary or surprising. Everything that occurs is phenomenal, for all that we know about is phenomena, appearances. Of realities, noumena, we are ignorant. Pled, pronounced pled, for pleaded. He pled guilty. Plenty for plentiful. Fish and fowl were plenty. Poetess. A foolish word like authoress. Poetry for verse. Not all verse is poetry. Not all poetry is verse. Few persons can know, or hope to know, the one from the other, but he who has the humility to doubt, if such a one there be, should say verse if the composition is metrical. Point blank. He fired at him point blank. This usually is intended to mean directly or at short range, but point blank means the point at which the line of sight is crossed downward by the trajectory, the curve described by the missile. Poisonous for venomous. Hemlock is poisonous, but a rattlesnake is venomous. Politics. The word is not plural because it happens to end with s. Possess for have. To possess knowledge is to possess power. Possess is lacking in naturalness and unduly emphasizes the concept of ownership. Practically for virtually. This error is very common. It is practically conceded. The decision was practically unanimous. The panther and the cougar are practically the same animal. These and similar misapplications of the word are virtually without excuse. Predicate for found or base. I predicate my argument on universal experience. What is predicated of something is affirmed as an attribute of it, as omnipotence is predicated of the deity. Prejudice for Preposition. Literally, a prejudice is merely a prejudgment, a decision before evidence, and may be favorable or unfavorable. But it is so much more frequently used in the latter sense than in the former, that clarity is better got by the other word for reasonless approval. Preparedness for Readiness. An awkward and needless word much used in discussion of national armaments, as "our preparedness for war." Preside. Professor Swackenhauer presided at the piano. The deviled crab table was presided over by Mrs. Dooley. How would this sound? The ginger pop stand was under the administration of President Woolwit, and Professor Souffle presided at the flute. Pretend for Profess. I do not pretend to be infallible. Of course not. One does not care to confess oneself a pretender. To pretend is to try to deceive. One may profess quite honestly. Preventative for Preventive. No such word as preventative. Previous for Previously. The man died previous to receipt of the letter. Prior to for Before. Stilted. Propose for Purpose, or Intend. I propose to go to Europe. A mere intention is not a proposal. Proposition for Proposal. He made a proposition. In current slang almost anything is a proposition. A difficult enterprise is a tough proposition, an agile wrestler, a slippery proposition, and so forth. Proportions for Dimensions. A rock of vast proportions. Proportions relate to form, dimensions to magnitude. Proven for Proved. Good Scotch, but bad English. Proverbial for Familiar. The proverbial dog in the manger. The animal is not proverbial, for it is not mentioned in a proverb, but in a fable. Quit for Cease, stop. Jones promises to quit drinking. In another sense, too, the word is commonly misused, as he has quit the town. Say, quitted. Quite. She is quite charming. If it is meant that she is entirely charming, this is right, but usually the meaning intended to be conveyed is less than that she is rather or somewhat charming. Raise for bring up, grow, breed, etc. In this country a word of all work. Raise children, raise wheat, raise cattle. Children are brought up. Grain, hay, and vegetables are grown. Animals and poultry are bred. Real for really or very. It is real good of him. The weather was real cold. Realize for conceive or comprehend. I could not realize the situation. Writers caring for precision use this word in the sense of to make real, not to make seem real. A dream seems real, but is actually realized when made to come true. Recollect for remember. To remember is to have in memory. To recollect is to recall what has escaped from memory. We remember automatically. In recollecting, we make a conscious effort. Redeem for retrieve. He redeemed his good name. Redemption, Latin redemptio, from re and dimere, is allied to ransom and carries the sense of buying back, whereas to retrieve is merely to recover what was lost. Redound for conduce. A man's honesty redounds to his advantage. We make a better use of the word if we say of one, for example, who has squandered a fortune, that its loss redounds to his advantage, for the word denotes a fluctuation, as from seeming evil to actual good, as vilification may direct attention to one's excellent character. Refused. He was refused a crown. It is the crown that was refused to him. See given. Regular for natural or customary. Flattery of the people is the demagogue's regular means to political preferment. Regular properly relates to a rule, regula, more definite than the law of antecedent and consequent. Reliable for trusty or trustworthy. a word not yet admitted to the vocabulary of the fastidious, but with a strong backing for the place. Remit for Send. On receiving your bill, I will remit the money. Remit does not mean that. It means give back, yield up, relinquish, etc. It means also to cancel, as in the phrase, the remission of sins. Rendition for interpretation, or performance. The actor's rendition of the part was good. Rendition means a surrender or a giving back. Repertorial. A vile word, improperly made. It assumes the Latinized spelling reporter. The Romans had not the word, for they were, fortunately for them, without the thing. Repudiate for deny. He repudiated the accusation. Reside for live. They reside in Hohokus. Stilted. Residence for dwelling or house. See mansion. Respect for way or matter. They were alike in that respect. The misuse comes of abbreviating. The sentence properly written might be, they were alike in respect of that, i.e., with regard to that. The word in the bad sense has even been pluralized. In many respects it is admirable. Respective. They went to their respective homes. The adjective here, if an adjective is thought necessary, should be several. In the adverbial form the word is properly used in the sentence following. John and James are bright and dull respectively. That is, John is bright and James dull. Responsible. The bad weather is responsible for much sickness. His intemperance was responsible for his crime. Responsibility is not an attribute of anything but human beings, and few of these can respond, in damages or otherwise. Responsible is nearly synonymous with accountable and answerable, which, also, are frequently misused. Restive for restless. These words have directly contrary meanings. The dictionary's disallowance of their identity would be something to be thankful for, but that is a dream. Retire for go to bed. English of the genteel sort. See genteel. Reverend for the Reverend. Reverend Dr. Smith. Reverence for revere. Ride for drive. On horseback one does drive, and in a vehicle one does ride. But a distinction is needed here, as in England. So, here as there, we may profitably make it, riding in the saddle and driving in the carriage. Roomer for lodger. See bedder and mealer, if you can find them. Round for about. They stood round. See around. Ruination for ruin. Questionably derived and problematically needful. Run for manage or conduct. Vulgar, hardly better than slang. Say for voice. He had no say in determining the matter. Vulgar. Scholar for student or pupil. A scholar is a person who is learned, not a person who is learning. Score for win, obtain, etc. He scored an advantage over his opponent. To score is not to win a point, but to record it. Second-handed for second-hand. There is no such word. Secure for procure. He secured a position as bookkeeper. The dwarf secured a stick and guarded the jewels that he had found. Then it was the jewels that were secured. Seldom ever. A most absurd locution. Self-confessed. A self-confessed assassin. Self is superfluous. One's sins cannot be confessed by another. Sensation for emotion. The play caused a great sensation. A sensational newspaper. A sensation is a physical feeling, an emotion a mental. Doubtless the one usually accompanies the other, but the good writer will name the one that he has in mind, not the other. There are few errors more common than the one here noted. Sense for smell. She sensed the fragrance of roses. Society English. Set for sit. A setting hen. Settee for settle. This word belongs to the peasantry of speech. Settle for pay. Settle the bill. I shall take it now and settle for it later. Shades for shade. Shades of Noah! How it rained! Oh, shades of Caesar! A shade is a departed soul as conceived by the ancients. One to each mortal part is the proper allowance. Show for chance or opportunity. He didn't stand a show. Say, he had no chance. Sick for ill. Good usage now limits this word to cases of nausea, but it is still legitimate in sickly, sickness, lovesick, and the like. Side for agree or stand. I side with the Democrats. He always sided with what he thought right. Sideburns for Burnsides. A form of whiskers named from a noted general of the Civil War, Ambrose E. Burnside. It seems to be thought that the word side has something to do with it, and that as an adjective it should come first, according to our idiom. Side hill for hillside. A reasonless transposition for which it is impossible to assign a cause, unless it is abbreviated from side o' the hill. Sideways for sidewise. See endways. Since for ago. He came here not long since and died. Smart for bright or able. An Americanism that is dying out. But smart has recently come into use for fashionable, which is almost as bad. Snap for period of time, or spell. A cold snap. This is a word of incomprehensible origin in that sense. We can know only that its parents were not respectable. Spell is itself not very well born. So as. See as. So for true. If you see it in the daily liver complaint, it is so. Is that so? Colloquial and worse. Solemnize. This word rightly means to make solemn, not to perform or celebrate ceremoniously something already solemn, as a marriage or a mass. We have no exact synonym, but this explains rather than justifies its use. Some for somewhat. He was hurt some. Soon for willingly. I would as soon go as stay. That soldier would sooner eat than fight. Say, rather eat. Space for period. A long space of time. Space is so different a thing from time that the two do not go well together. End of section 5. Recording by Mark Penfold, Lincoln, Nebraska.